Hey guys, welcome back to my small engine repair channel. Today I've got in my hand one of the most gelled up carburetor I've ever seen in my shop. What I'll be talking about in this video is how this happened and how you can prevent that. So what I've got here is a carburetor from a Tecumseh snowblower engine. So that carburetor came off that engine on this Yardman snowblower. It's been sitting for a while, probably since the spring. The customer used that blower last winter, which probably the last time he used it was in April of 2020. And now what I'm going to do is open up the carb and show you how quickly it got full of gel. And I'll take the bottom bolt off, which is the jet as well. And here we go. And take a close look at that gel in that carb. So basically this happened over a period of about 6 to 7 months, and it may have occurred even earlier in the process. And have a look at this part of the carb where the float is. It's totally caked in gel. Now I'm going to pull the float pin out. Even it was tight in there because of the gel. Here's a good sign, at least the emulsion tube part, which is made of plastic, looks clean. The gel seems to gravitate to the metal parts. Now I'm not a scientist, but when you grab a hold of this gel, it kind of seems almost like a paste. A paste which is made of water or some kind of product. If you do research on this, let me know, just comment below the video. So the ethanol, I believe, is a water-based product which is added to the fuel. You're going to get more gel like this in the cheap fuel that you buy. Now you might be wondering what's causing a carburetor to build up gel like that. What's wrong with the fuel nowadays? Well, as I just mentioned, they add a water-based product which is called ethanol. I believe it's made from corn. This product has only been added in the fuel in the last few decades. When I was younger, there was no such thing as ethanol. You could store equipment for like 5 years and go back to it and it would start right up. Nowadays though, the fuel can barely last 2 months in some equipment. So what you want to do, guys, for your small engines is just buy the premium fuel at your local gas station that does not have ethanol. There's a website called puregas.org, I believe. You can check all the gas stations that don't add ethanol to their fuels. Here in Canada, I go to the Canadian Tire gas bars, the Shell and the Ultramar, and I buy the premium fuel, and I never have any issues whatsoever with gel like this. So the bottom line, guys, is just buy the most expensive fuel from a trusted gas station that does not add ethanol in their fuel, and you will avoid this gel altogether. Now, even if you buy the most expensive fuel with no ethanol, it's still susceptible to absorb moisture and you can still get issues. The best way to store your equipment is to actually drain the fuel, take off the carburetor bowl, let it dry, then put it back on. If you do it that way, there's absolutely no chance that your equipment will not run in the next season. However, if you're not able to empty out your equipment because you cannot drain the fuel or you don't have the tools, you can use a good fuel stabilizer. This is the fuel stabilizer I use in all my customers' equipment. And by the way, guys, I am not sponsored. This is not a product placement. I am not paid to mention the K100. My videos are honest and true, and I try to show you guys the products that work best for me and my customers. The reason I like the K100 is because it does absorb some of the moisture in your fuel. Now, just remember, guys, no matter what stabilizer you use that absorbs moisture, if you have too much moisture in your fuel or water, you have to drain the fuel. So in this case here, what I'll be doing on the snowblower is draining out the fuel tank. I will try to clean this carburetor and reinstall it, but I don't know if it will work or not. If you run into this issue with your power equipment, just clean the carburetor. You can use carb cleaner, let it soak. If you do have an ultrasonic cleaner, put it in there. And sometimes you do have to manually clean some of the jets by hand. The ultrasonic cleaner will not clean everything. So the main jet of this Tecumseh carburetor is the bottom bowl nut. It's a jet as well. There are a lot of small holes that you can clean on this one here. And sometimes you can save the carburetor, but not always. If the carburetor doesn't run after I clean it, I will just put on a new one. Now, the best carburetor cleaner that I use for my carburetors in my shop is the Mercury Power Tune, guys. Again, I'm not paid to mention this product. I've been making videos on YouTube even before the videos were monetized. So what I'll do with the Power Tune and the jet is I'll spray it in a small container. I'll leave it soaked there for about a day, and I'll soak the carburetor as well. Now, once you spray the carburetor and the rubber parts inside here with the Power Tune, what you want to do is replace the small O-rings on the emulsion tube inside here and the bowl O-ring right here. You still have to manually take some of the grime off, but it makes it a lot easier. And as I mentioned, if you do have an ultrasonic cleaner, you can throw your carburetor in there for about 20 minutes, and that will clean up things that you cannot do manually as well. Now, for those of you guys watching that are able to do some repairs on small engines, what I will recommend you do is get a carburetor kit for this carburetor. It's part number 631021B. It will include the bowl O-ring, the bowl nut gasket, the needle and seat as well. Now, with a carburetor this dirty, you could save the bowl, but for the price of them, what I recommend is to just put on a new one. Also, if you do keep the old bowl, make sure you clean the edges here where it seals against the carburetor. And what you can do with the float to check if it's good or not is shake it. And if you don't feel or hear any fuel inside the float, it is still good. Now, on this snowblower here, this whole problem could have easily been avoided because there is a fuel shutoff valve on this snowblower. So what you want to do at the end of the winter is turn the fuel valve off and run the engine until it dies. Once it dies, you can turn the choke on. It will run for about another 10 seconds. If you are running cheap gas with ethanol, you have to be extra careful. You have to use a lot of stabilizer, and you have to turn the fuel valve off and run it dry almost every time you use the equipment. And even if you do that, you may still encounter problems because the ethanol may separate itself from the fuel in the fuel tank. So I'll give you one last look at all the parts here before I end off the video. Check out this gel, it's just unbelievable. Here's the carburetor bowl again. And I'm sure all the old timers watching the video will remember when the fuel was not this bad. And what happens, guys, is if you take the bowl off and the gel starts to dry up, it will start rusting your carburetor, and actually very quickly, because I took this carburetor off the machine this afternoon, had the bowl off for a couple hours, and you can already see the rust. So if you're going to take anything away from this video today is always run your equipment dry when you put it away. Always buy good fuel with no ethanol, and use a good fuel stabilizer if you cannot empty out the fuel tank of your equipment when you put it away for the season. Thanks again for watching, guys. Please comment below as to how you put your equipment away, and have a great day.